Hey guys, I'm Steve and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm starting a new series called Federation Compendium, in which I will explain different aspects of the Star Federation universe. Today we're going to be talking about the main focus of the SFU, the United Federation, also known as the UNF or just Federation. The United Federation was founded in 2059 after a political crisis endangered the 3-year-old Council of Planets. The COP had entered a state of political turmoil almost immediately after it was formed. So, to save the unification of the nations of Earth, the biggest political party in the COP, the Executives, made a plan to reform the COP into the United Federation. The other parties agreed, and the 3 parties voted for U.S. Representative Justin Mitchell as the first president. The Federation is a democracy, very similar to the United States. It has 3 branches, the executive, legislative, and judicial, just like the United States. Now, before I continue, I just have a little disclaimer here. I'm not trying to push any political ideas with how the Federation is structured, nor with how popular the parties are. I'm simply trying to make a universe suitable for entertaining stories. Let's start with the executive branch. The UNF is led by a president. He or she is the head of state and head of government, as well as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The major difference between the Federation president and the US president is that the UNF president serves 5-year terms, but he or she is also limited to 2 terms, just like the US president is. And now for the legislative branch. The UNF Senate makes up the entirety of the legislative branch of the government, rather than a Senate and a House of Representatives. Each star system has 4 senators representing it in the Senate. Senators serve 6-year terms and are also limited to 2 terms. And now for the judicial branch, which honestly is my least favorite one. The UNF High Judiciary is the Supreme Court of the Federation. It has 10 justices appointed by the President and approved by the Senate. The High Judiciary hears cases that involve government officials and really anything pertinent to national security. At the same time, each star system has its own judiciary, which hears other cases that the High Judiciary won't. The Federation is divided into different political parties, just like the United States, except there are more of them. We'll start with the Patriot Party. The Patriot Party is usually the more popular party, and it is the party from which most UNF presidents came from. Its main idea is that the Federation remains a major power in the galaxy while not allowing as much expansion as before. This party came from the Executive Party of the Council of Planets. Next is the Imperialist Party. The Imperialist Party is the main proponent behind territorial expansion, just as the name suggests. Whenever the Imperialists control the Senate, you can expect the Federation to grow, territorially or militarily. This party came from the Militarist Party of the Council of Planets. Next up is the Progressive Party, and this one's an interesting one. The Progressive Party was a completely new party boasting the classic progressive ideals. They want aliens to be given more rights, and they want to significantly scale back military and exploration funding. The progressives often get some legislation passed even when they don't have a majority or a progressive president in office. All the other parties mostly agree on at least one idea that the Progressive Party stands for. For example, the Patriot Party agrees that aliens should receive more rights, and the isolationists agree on scaling back funding to the military and exploration. The only party that doesn't have anything in common with the progressives is the Imperialist Party. Last but not least is the Isolationist Party, and this one is important. The isolationists have been around since the Council of Planets. They never really changed. And they want the Federation to completely stop expansion and cease diplomatic relations with other nations. They're scared by the Groton Collective, an alien empire, into wanting isolation. Even after the Federation wins a war against the Groton Collective, the isolationists still cling to their isolationist views. They fear running into another hostile alien race. They eventually start a civil war over the matter, but I'll talk about that in its own video. The United Federation is capitalist. The government owns no production in the entire nation, and it relies on taxes for its income. The official currency of the UNF is Federation credits. I'm just throwing industry in with economy because I don't really have that much to say about the Federation's economy. Most industry in the UNF is owned by Othala Industries, or OTI for short. While some other companies do exist, OTI is the most successful and widespread corporation. Othala mainly produces ships, weapons, power generation technology, shields, etc. Some other companies in the Federation include, but are not limited to, Nova Corporation, specializing in automation, Mystic Miners, specializing in, well, mining obviously, and the United Space Engineering Corporation, specializing in ship design. OTI is separated into smaller companies like Othala Electronics, making reactors, computers, etc., Othala Motors, making hyperdrives, engines, and RCS, and Othala Shipyards, owning most shipyards like Hephaestus in the Sol system and Epsilon in the, well, Epsilon system. The UNF military follows a similar structure to the US military, but it does have its differences. As we go through this, I'll throw up some examples of the structures of the different branches. The Federation Army is the main ground force of the UNF armed forces. It conducts all of the ground operations in any war the Federation is in. It is led by a general, who is the Chief of Staff of the Army, who reports to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who in turn reports to the President. Under the Chief of Staff of the Army are the generals in charge of the various army groups, the numbers of which vary over time. Each army group has 4 armies, led by a lieutenant general. Each army has 10 divisions, led by a major general. Each division has 4 brigades, led by a colonel. Each brigade has 10 platoons, led by a captain. Each platoon has 5 squads, led by a lieutenant, and each squad has 1 staff sergeant and 4 enlisted. Wow, that was a mouthful. Next up is the Federation Marine Corps. It is the special forces of the Federation. They perform hot drops onto enemy planets to secure landing zones for the Army. They also perform boarding actions during naval combat. Under the Commandant of the Marines, there are Marine groups led by a Major General. Each Marine group has 10 squads, led by colonels, and each squad has that colonel, a major, and 3 lieutenants. And next we have the Federation Navy. The Navy is the most important part of the armed forces. Without them, the Army and Marines wouldn't be able to do their jobs. The Navy's job is to gain control of the space around planets as well as support ground operations. They also protect important planets and escort supply chains. Under the Chief of Naval Operations, there are varying numbers of flotillas. Each flotilla is commanded by a Grand Admiral and has 5 fleets. Each fleet is under the command of a Fleet Admiral and has 3 task forces, led by admirals. Each task force typically has 2 groups under the command of Rear Admirals. Groups vary in composition. Usually a fleet will have a carrier group and an escort group in its first task force, a battle group and escort group in its second, and its third is usually a toss-up between a battle group and a support group, escorted by, well, an escort group. And that is decided based on the mission. Carrier groups typically have a carrier and 2 destroyers, battle groups have a battleship, light cruiser, and destroyer, and support groups have 2 destroyers and 2 supply ships. Escort groups vary depending on what type of group they're escorting. If it's escorting a carrier or support group, it'll have a light cruiser and 2 destroyers. While if it's escorting a battle group, it'll have a heavy cruiser and 2 destroyers. Then there's the very rare Dreadnought Task Force. These will be entirely separated from other fleets and task forces. They'll usually have 1 Dreadnought escorted by 2 heavy cruisers and 4 destroyers. These task forces are extremely rare because Dreadnoughts are so expensive and time-consuming to build. Besides, there's only 1 shipyard in the Federation capable of building these massive ships. and that is Hephaestus Shipyards, located in the Sol system. In all the lore I've written up to this point, the only dreadnought to serve in the UNF Navy is the FCS Aurora. It began construction after the end of the Groton Collective War as a way to create jobs and strengthen the Navy in the eyes of all who see it. Unfortunately, not everyone saw it as such a shining beacon of patriotism as it was made out to be, but that's a discussion for another video. The Federation also operated specialized task forces, such as Task Force Kraken, which was formed specifically to raid convoys in the Civil War. Kraken would have a battleship, the FCS Turin, escorted by 2 destroyers, the FCS Ulrich Keisling and the FCS Valkyrie. Last and probably least is the Federation Fighter Corps. The FFC operates carrier task forces separate from the usual fleets. They often carry out special operations missions from their carriers. The Fighter Corps also operates as planetary defenses against pirates and as air support for land invasions. Thank you all so much for watching. In the future, if there's anything I want to add to this, I'll just make a short addendum video that you can see in the playlist here. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe, comment down below what you liked or didn't like, and if you want to be notified when a new video comes out, hit the bell-shaped button so you won't miss out on the next episode of Federation Compendium, which will be about the Groton Collective. If you want sneak peeks into future videos, or just want to give suggestions, feel free to join my Discord server, a link to which will be in the description of this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.